the host of Aaron's Hour, Aaron Phillips.
And good happy Saturday to each and every one of you. I am Aaron Phillips, host of Aaron's Hour with Aaron Phillips, Coast to Coast, which, as I always say, if it wasn't for Aaron Phillips, the title of that show would really be stupid now, wouldn't it? I am Aaron Phillips from beautiful Virginia Beach, and joining me today is my guest, Mr. Carlos Moore. Carlos is, he's owns his own business, recruiting in the technical field, one might say, right, of engineering and all that good stuff.
Amongst others, sure.
Amongst others. His resume of people is like this long. But before we went on the air, we also learned a little something. We'll have some fun talking about the world of boxing, too. Now, there's something you don't always talk about on the Saturday at 11 a.m. East Coast time. Thank you for joining us today, whether you're watching me on Facebook, whether it's on Aaron's Hour, or, of course, my network, which you see. I always screw it up because I was never a weatherman. You can see right above me is the logo, WWDBTV. Virginia Beach, or WWDBTV back in Las Vegas. And of course, the same 3 channels all on YouTube. Whatever your preference is, I've got you covered. And if you miss it live, as you know, just go right back to any one of those platforms, catch the video and watch it at your convenience. I know my sponsors would be very grateful if you did that as well. Anyway, thank you for making us today. Listen, I know back in Vegas, it's going to be hotter than blazes back there in the 110s-ish. Please, please, please be careful. Drink a lot of water, even though you may not be thirsty. Trust me when I tell you, your body will be craving water. And here in Virginia Beach, Carlos, today, too, we're talking 90s. We're talking humidity. We're talking heat index of 100 degrees today. I'm telling you, my pool's calling me. Right from here, I'm heading into the pool.
Well, you and me, too. Either the beach or I'm going to fly out to Vegas and do that hot weather
That's
and
true.
dry heat.
I'll
take that any day of the week.
Yeah, have you been to Vegas before?
I've been multiple times.
Okay,
yeah,
what's
sure.
your favorite spot in Vegas?
You know, I always stay at the Cosmopolitan.
The Cosmo, right in the center.
Yeah, it's the only casino hotel that actually has a balcony, and it's
That's true.
And
do you know why there aren't many balconies in Vegas?
I think I could imagine.
Well, what do you think?
People getting inebriated and throwing furniture, throwing objects
or
off.
Themselves,
Or
because
themselves.
They get depressed if they've lost all their money. That's right.
I did not think about
and
that.
a lot of the windows are locked. You can't open them, or they just open up like that much.
Okay.
So those things from a standpoint of safety and all the things you talked about, you get inebriated cans and absolutely, but there's also the fear of suicide. Oh, I lost my home savings. I can't make my mortgage. People don't want to go, and so that is one of the reasons why.
That has never crossed my mind.
Yeah,
I have to honestly say I learned something.
After living 27 years out in the desert, you learn all these little stories. But well, it's good. So you're
now I can see why.
Absolutely, and like I said, you hit it right on the head too for those reasons as well. But Vegas, please be careful. Here in Vegas again, here in Virginia Beach, as I said, going to be hot, muggy the rest of this week. Actually, coming up. Finally, a stretch of days where, thank God, no rain. My pool is dying. I've been pumping more water out of my pool than I actually have in the pool so it doesn't overflow. But I finally have some temperatures that, and John will appreciate this because we used to talk about this all the time back there. Being back in Vegas, I got used to water temperatures that were in those low 80s where you just kind of walk in, you don't have that chill factor. Right. Well, I finally got my pool up to over 80 degrees the last couple of days. And so I'm looking forward. Today we'll probably be in the pool. Tomorrow, my wife and I already have kind of talked about maybe either picking Chesapeake Bay or Virginia Beach tomorrow, put our feet in some sand, and do nothing because Tuesday I'm heading out to Pittsburgh for 5 days, and I've got that long drive heading out there.
City.
Anyway, listen, and we're going to, part of the case for Kiwanis International, it's our Kiwanis International Convention, and as a Yankees fan, I don't know how I got swindled into this, but Friday is part of one of the outings. We're going to go see the Mets play the Pirates out there on Friday. Great. And so we'll have some fun out there. Anyway, I digress. With that, I got so much to do. There's so many great stories out there in and around town. So let's get to it. It's now time for Vegas Unwrapped 2.0.
With a nod to the past and an eye to the future, here is Aaron Phillips with Vegas Unwrapped 2.0.
All right, welcome back. Here we go. I don't know what it is, but most of my stories here in our local. See, what I like to do in this is share just good stuff. This is a happy place show. I don't talk politics. I don't talk religion. I don't want to talk bumming stuff. You got enough of that other stuff out there.
Absolutely.
I want people to come to this show to laugh and smile and meet great people like you, and people like you are involved in the community. And one of the things I love sharing is lottery winners. People think it only happens in Vegas, Carlos. It don't happen just in Vegas.
Well, we all think that.
Right. Exactly. Well, listen, here's what I love sharing about the Virginia lottery system. Okay. And the first one I'm going to share is a lady by the name of Angie Crutchley. Now, do you dabble at all in the lottery here in VA?
I do not.
You do not.
Every now and then I'll buy a lottery ticket, but I'm just I'm kind of stay away from it.
I don't blame you. Growing up in Jersey, we had the lotteries and the tickets and all that. So going to Vegas, of course, the casinos won every dollar going into every slot machine. As a matter of fact, tickets and lottery tickets to help the educational system out there has been voted down. So I've been hesitant in the year that I've been here. It's like, you go in the gas station, everybody's buying tickets. I'm like, no, I got T-Rex disease. I'm not reaching for my wallet to buy the ticket. But Virginia says, aha, we got you beat. You can go onto a website called WWDBTV.com, and they have all these lottery games online. Anyway, Angie Crutchley, early May, she won $5,000 playing the Virginia lottery, but that was just a warm-up, okay? Because then she sat down to play the Virginia Cash Expander, which is part of this WWDBTV.com. She won $150,000. So you're talking like $155,000 in about a month, right? But here's my thing with all of these, and John and I talk about this all the time, especially the ones I share from Vegas. Somebody put in 50 cents and walked away with $30 gazillion. How many 50 cents did they put in all the years?
That's what I'm afraid of.
Right? Exactly. See, I don't want to sit with the debits and credits and all
That's
that.
right.
But
That's
it's intriguing when the article says, well, they placed $2.80 to win $3. How much have they really? That's like when I used to sell timeshare out there. Oh, I don't vacation, or I come out here and the Cosmopolitan puts me up for free. I'm like, really? Oh, that's good. John, did we sleep on the switch over there, or was that Ricky taking over for you? So you have these games and the switches. It's just like, okay, what are we doing here? Anyway, I lost my thought because of that. But let's get back to this. So she said, this is Angie Crutch. She said when she won this one, first thing to do, she called her mom. Debbie Rouse was her first priority. She set aside $5,000 for fun, and the remainder she herself is going to set up for her own retirement because she doesn't want to work until she's 90. Sure. But she thinks with this money, she says she should be able to make it to 87. I'm like, okay, whatever. But here's the part that I really like. All Virginia lottery profits, all, A-L-L, all. John, respect. You heard the conversation before he went on there. Apparently, ladies and gentlemen, before he went on the air, John's cat decided to play producer with him back in Vegas, and so the reason, there he is. Yeah, okay. So the reason
that's his backup.
That's his backup. Yes. Well, actually, he's perfect for the job. Perfect. But anyway, okay. So this is what I like about it. So all the profits go to K-12 education in Virginia, but Miss Crutchley lives outside of Exmoor. That's the town she lives near, Northampton County. But Northampton County received more than $2.4 million in lottery funds for K-12 education in last year's fiscal year, which is great.
Excellent.
So in fiscal year 2024, the lottery raised more than $934 million for K-12 education, making up approximately, and that number is only 10% of Virginia's total Hey, Clark County, what would you do with $934 million for your educational budget? This is what kills me. My wife is a retired administrator, so she's been in the classroom and everything. And the amount of times with negotiations and the 2.5% and 3%, and they're fighting. And I come out here last year, the education, they signed an 8.5% increase. No delays, no retro, because all the contracts were up to date.
Right.
What God, you know what? I may just start playing the lottery just because of what they do for K-12.
Yeah, I think stories like that should get amplified.
Absolutely.
As a native, I wasn't aware of that.
Well, tune in a little more often, Carlos, and things you'll learn here on our show. Okay. 2 Hampton Roads residents win big while playing again Virginia lottery games. Dwight Davis from Norfolk, June 2nd, played Cash 5 with easy match drawing. Didn't know he won. He was checking his numbers. It's like picking all these numbers. 5 out of 5. He was skeptical. Checked his numbers so many times he wore off the numbers on the ticket he was checking. Bottom line is the man won $255,000. Second winner, Nicole Humphrey of Hampton, she won a cool $100,000. Virginia Lottery's Clue game, the top prize for that scratch-off game. She says, I've been up all night checking every 5 minutes just to make sure it didn't disappear, Humphrey said. She's going to party like no other. So 2 more winners. Congratulations there. Now, let's go outside Vegas. Outside of Virginia Beach just a little bit. So there was a gentleman. Now, you drive, right?
I do.
If you have a long road trip, what's one of the things you have to do besides put gas in your car? We usually stop to
check the tires on the car, make sure everything's good, make sure the oil levels are good.
Okay, so we do a little car maintenance. But if you're on for a long road trip, do you want to stop every hour when you're hungry? No, we got to run into the local market, right? Get some munchies.
That's true. I forgot about the body.
That's right. We got to fuel the body too. So here you go. This gentleman driving had a hankering for snacks, and on a whim, this man from Pennsylvania, he hit big in Maryland lottery. The Philadelphia man was driving home from work. That was it. When he stopped by a Woodlawn convenience store to buy some snacks for the road on June 4th. So this went a little bit. Maryland lottery officials, though, finally released the news on June 16th. So he says, quote, on a whim, he bought some lottery tickets, including a Powerball ticket. You know Powerball, you're talking some big chunks there, right? So I don't know about you, but if I'm buying lottery tickets and I know I got to check them, I ain't leaving them in my car. I'm not leaving them in my pocket. I'm not risking losing them, right?
Not at all.
The forgotten tickets sat in his car for almost a week. Then as the man was cleaning his car, he came across a bag that he was about to throw out before he decided to look in, and guess where the tickets were? Inside the bag. Well, what he did was that once he pulled the tickets out, he pulled up the app on the phone, WWDBTV.com, pulled it up, checked the lottery numbers, and believe it or not, the Powerball ticket scored him $50,000. The man who hasn't told others of his win yet told lottery officials he plans to spend his prize on some bills and save the remainder. How do you forget you got a lottery ticket? I'm watching. I'd be sitting there watching with bated breath, waiting for stuff like that to come up. Before I get to my last piece of news, which is something back in Vegas. So you said you're a lifer of this area.
I am a native.
Born and raised?
Absolutely.
What's your favorite thing to do as someone who lives here? I mean, you live here. It's like me when I was in Vegas. What do you do in Vegas? Well, First thing I do is I don't go to the Strip generally. But what do you do? What do you recommend for people?
That's a great question because, what do we do around here, right? I think we have the town center here. But honestly, I just like, my wife and I, we like going to the beach.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll go, we have our spot down at the ocean front.
Okay.
What we call the north end, or, the ocean front is
Sure.
the ocean front, and then we have the bay side.
Right.
Which is all for short drive. So either one, we'll just pick our spot and go there and just hang out. And honestly, it's just fairly simple. I just, go there, relax all day. Have a couple of drinks, sitting out in the sun and enjoying life, and then packing everything up and heading back to the house, right? And cooking out.
Right on. I like it. That's simplistic. That's kind of the way I like it. Before I get to this piece of news, do you have any pet peeves? Because I do. John has a picture I'm going to have him put up in a second.
Do I have any pet peeves?
Give me a pet peeve or two. That's like for me, one of them is like, get out of the left lane when you're driving slow.
You just stole my.
Oh, did I? I'm sorry. Okay.
That is my pet peeve. Yes.
Okay.
I don't get personalized plates because of that. Yeah, because I don't want anybody pointing to me going, I know that guy.
Get out of the way.
I do have a car that's probably, it's an odd color. It's not a, like a bodacious color or anything like that, but it's a very subtle blue.
Okay.
And with dolphin gray interior, and unfortunately, it's a convertible. So,
okay. So people can find it.
So people will actually know me in my face. So I have to be a good driver.
Okay.
But if my top is up. You can't drive in that left-hand lane, and I have to point this out too, because one of the other things that I've noticed is that since they have created the pylon, separated HOV lanes, everyone now thinks the former passing lane is a driving lane. And that drives me absolutely nuts. It's not. I wish they would put up some kind of signage or something saying or informing drivers that you are driving in a passing lane. Move over. Yeah, so that's my pet peeve.
Well, I take issues with the on and off ramps of this town. They are just so short. How we don't get more accidents. Oh, my God. Anyway, all right, so before I have John put up the picture, so do you get deliveries at your house? Not Amex, but Amazon and all that, right?
Many packages.
Do you have a box out front, or do they come to the door and you usually get them at that point?
I just leave them at the store. They live right in front of the door.
Okay, so you have neighbors that you trust.
I do.
I know porch pirates in your neighborhood.
Well, I have Vivint.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean, but
no. That's
a sponsor.
We'll just send them a bill. That's right. Well, so I have Eufy. I have a Eufy camera system, so I also get the notifications. But with my daughter living up in North Jersey, my dad, so we still ship stuff. And I ordered with my wife, and I admit it, we're online culprits. We order a lot of stuff to the point where I've gotten to know all the delivery people by their first names.
She converted you.
I don't know if she converted me or I converted her, to be honest with you. It's probably a 50-50 match if you ask, in all honesty. So we decided, because sometimes some of these things come and they need a signature. So my neighbor will sign for it, and they'll still leave it by my door. So, the porch pirates and all that. So I bought a parcel bin, big gray bin that's about, 3 feet high by 2. I mean, it's big.
Right.
Open the lid, it could swallow you up. My wife, if she reaches in for something at the bottom, my wife's 4'11" 3/4, she'll fall in the little clothes. No, she's in there. It's big with a sign that says, please place all parcels, FedEx, Amex, UPS, whatever, in the bin. We've got some, excuse my French here, lazy ass delivery people right now, because over the last couple of weeks, these people are walking up to and this box is right by my front door. Right there, gray up against a brick background. It's not like it's camouflage, people. And we get these Eufy things. I get the notifications that the person places it on the stoop, takes the picture, and leaves it on the stoop. John, please put up my picture. This happened this morning. Not once. This is my front stoop from about 2 hours ago.
Okay, so I see the box. So it's not so it's nice.
But look at this.
Yeah.
Look at the box. Look how big that thing is. So the first box, now the red little picture, that's on my patio. That's a display piece. But that box that I have circled, that's the first box that was delivered. So what happened when the second person showed up? That's the little white bag that was dropped on my stoop. And look how close to the bin with a sign that says, please put it here. So I contacted, when this got delivered, the box, I messaged the company I ordered from, and the delivery company, and I sent them this screenshot. People, there's a reason we have bins out there to protect our stuff. Please. I caught one guy over the weekend. He was on the grass, the edge of the grass that you see here in the picture.
Right.
Happened to have been a shirt, so it was nothing fragile. He tossed it like it was a newspaper from the grass, flung it onto my stoop, and I saw it. I was racing to get out of my chair. He's halfway to my off the driveway to his car. I opened the door and I said, thanks for putting it in the bin, you moron. And he took off the rest of the way. Anyway, you can take that down now, John. Please, delivery people, we want to protect our goods. If you're 3 feet from the bin, just put it in the bin. We have that there because we know it ain't fitting in the box, the regular mailbox. Anyway, all right. Last piece of news. This is for Vegas. This is a once-in-a-lifetime thing. If it were to happen here, I would participate in this. But public has been invited to new Las Vegas fire engine push-in initiation. You know what a push-in initiation is?
I'm not familiar with that.
Fire engine 201 is scheduled to enter service at Fire Station 1 in downtown this Monday, the 23rd, with an initiation starting at 9 a.m. Chaplains with the Las Vegas Fire and Rescue will bless the new emergency unit, and then firefighters and willing community members will push the engine into the bay. This was a custom.
I did not know anything about
this has been going on since the late 1800s. Obviously, at the time, they were horse-drawn fire engines.
Right.
They dismantled and took the horses off, and the public now, at that time, they helped get the truck into the station. That is a tradition that has continued through this day. The tradition endures to this day as a mark of respect and honor for the introduction of a new fire engine. The Fire Station 201 is located at 500 North Casino Center Boulevard at the southeast corner with Bonanza Road. I did share this with my buddy Frank Pizarro, so hopefully Frank gets it. Maybe he'll be out there. If this happens out here, I want to know because I would go to this instantly. Because this is, how many times do you live and hear about a new firehouse that opens up and you can do a push-in initiation? All right.
That's right.
We are running behind.
Yeah,
absolutely. We are running behind by a minute or two. When we come back, we're going to get started with Carlos and all that he does for the job market here in the community and what he's done. And if you've heard of a boxer by the name of Parnell Whitaker, we're going to talk about him too. So Parnell, sir, if you're watching, it's all in good fun. Hey, you're watching Aaron's Hour. We'll be right back.
Have you ever wanted to dress like a Hall of Fame broadcaster, but didn't know where to begin? In 2018, Aaron Phillips was inducted in the Las Vegas Entertainers Hall of Fame, and The Voice was born. Aaron has been part of many successful podcast programs, and branding those programs plays a vital role. Visit thevoice.qbstores.com and order the latest embroidered products featuring the logos of many of Aaron's shows. Discounts and flat shipping rates are available on all orders, regardless of quantity, on men's, women's, and kids' apparel, and many accessories. Visit thevoice.qbstores.com and let Aaron's voice speak to you.
Your path to a meaningful career begins at Tidewater Community College. We're here to help you every step of the way, from application to financial aid, to helping you transfer to the four-year college of your choice, and even placement in in-demand careers. Whether you're looking to transition from the military, want to go part-time while you work, or make a full-time career change, TCC is here for you with multiple campuses throughout the region. Enroll today at Tidewater Community College. From here, go anywhere.
Know your own dictation.
Oh, hey, we're back. I thought we were running that other one, John. You scared us. Anyway, don't mind us. We're just chatting over here. Anyway, Carlos Moore, he's a seasoned talent acquisition executive with over 25 years experience in the staffing and recruiting industry. And in 2019, he said, the heck, I am not working for anybody else anymore. I'm going to work for myself. And in 2019, he founded Connect Talent Solutions, which is a staffing firm that partners with clients across engineering, accounting, hospitality, and general labor, delivering tailored workforce solutions with a people-first approach. And in that industry, God knows you need people skills. Let's officially welcome Carlos to the craziness of what we call Aaron's Hour. Thank you for coming in today, man.
Well, thanks for the invite.
And I will say this, I'm going to pull back the curtains.
Sure.
I spoke to Carlos. We share office space here. We both have offices here in Gather in Virginia Beach, which is like for you back there in the Vegas area. It's like Regis, those office co-working areas. So Layla, the lady up front, who is one of the folks that works for Gather, she told me about Carlos, about me, and we're playing tag like for weeks. Finally, this past week, Layla said, "Did you get my message? Carlos is in his office today." I'm like, "No," and usually here till about 3, and I think I connect with her like 2:15. I'm like, "All right, crap, I gotta hurry up." So anyway, I invited him to come on today, and you mentioned you had something with your grandson. You had some family stuff going.
That's right. That's right.
And I'm honored that you were able to convince the wife to let you come. Thank you, Mrs. Moore. I appreciate you letting him come out and play for an hour. So I appreciate you taking time away to be here today. So let's talk about this. We kind of alluded to it early. You're born and raised in the area, so you know Virginia Beach and the Hampton Roads area very well.
I do.
Why this industry for you 25 years ago? I mean, forget the boxing. We'll get to boxing in a little bit. We'll have fun with that in a bit.
Okay.
But how did you know that talent recruiting for all these years was your niche for this area?
Well, I've always liked people. Growing up here, I was class president, SEA president. So I've always had this feel where I like to make people feel special.
Mm-hmm.
And I just tuned into people, and I was very empathetic with regards to how people felt. For some reason, God gave me this sense that, I could sense when someone was unhappy, and I would automatically go to them. I remember in kindergarten, sitting beside somebody who I felt like they were sad or something like that. But fast forward, I spent just like everyone else, you get out of high school, you want to go to college.
Yep.
So my college that I was going to go to was Radford. I wanted to study political science, maybe become an attorney.
Okay.
And I ended up relocating with the company that I was working with, a little high school retail job that was, very sales focused. And so they transferred me up there. I was going to work my way through school, ended up meeting my wife, and I kept delaying school. And then we ended up growing a family. And then here I am. But the majority piece of that recruiting of my position there, as I, climbed the ladder to store manager and then beyond to running multiple states a couple of years later, the biggest job that I had was recruiting. And so I would always build staffs and be able to look and identify folks that would be good for the company. And then it all turned out successful because I ended up getting promoted. I was one of the youngest regional managers to make it to that level.
Mm-hmm.
And it all dealt with it was all because of my staff. We train, I believe, in, details and those sorts of things that would later help me in my later life in recruiting, because all of those elements are very important in the essence of acquiring staff, because if you don't have a great staff,
right,
you don't have a company.
Right.
And you have to be able to, someone could be qualified, but they may not be a good fit for your company.
Right.
So that's why I wanted to bring more of a holistic approach to recruiting.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, obviously in this town, like in Vegas, we know hospitality and customer service because of the casinos is like the number one industry.
That's right.
And we can turn around here and we've got the military, the Navy base and all of that stuff. Is that the number one industry here that you recruit for? Would be the Navy and military?
Oh, absolutely. GovCon is actually one of our major industries. The position I was in, I was recruiting manager for a GovCon or government contractor for those are in this area. as they refer to now.
Mhm.
And I was blessed. We went through quite a few changes as a company in terms of growth. We went from 200 to 400 people. And by the way, most of the clients that I worked for in the last 10 and 15 years, I'm sorry, actually, I would say 20 years, were clients of mine. So they started out as a client, and I would go and go on board and work with them and help them out and help them grow. Because I'm a very competitive person.
Sure.
And sales fed that competitiveness, and you just don't. I have an inner fire below, just always. It's like every minute, there's something.
Well, you have to be.
Fire.
Yeah. When you have a small to medium sized business and you're the head honcho, you're the founder. I run you have to have that fire that constantly burns to keep you progressing forward. If nothing else, to look at your business so that the business doesn't get stagnant.
That's right.
And you change with what's around and adapt accordingly. And that kind of leads me into another question I have for you. We know the economy drives the marketplace in a lot of ways. What is your biggest challenge in the recruiting field nowadays than, let's say, when you first started in it 25 years ago?
Wow. Night and day. And I say that because what's happened in the last 5 years, I think just topples anything that I've done in the previous 25 years. If you do the math, I'm probably short-sighted myself, or shorted myself. I wanted to appear younger. That's my thing.
Over thing is, I think we're contemporaries. Yeah, that's the thing.
Can't go too high.
And I'll jump ahead in a couple of weeks on the 5th. So
that's right.
But anyway,
exactly. And so with the video, and I'll tell you the biggest. I went through just so. Just for context, I went through the .com bust, or not bust, but the bubble.
Sure.
And the Y2K, fiasco that we had. I mean, the hysteria behind all of that.
All for nothing.
All for nothing. Yeah, not a whimper. And I literally sat there going, I think we all did, right?
Yeah,
When the clock ticked down to 2000.
Waiting to see everything explode,
exactly.
Your phones get up and walk away or whatever.
That's right. Lights go out, everything. The car, go in reverse. I mean, who knows, right? And so I worked it, but I will tell you, all of that combined pales in comparison to what transpired during COVID,
right.
Because it really, truly rewrote the landscape for every industry, including government contracting and clearance, because folks that were worked on classified programs and held clearances. So, traditionally, those who had clearances, especially the higher level clearances, had to work in a very protected, for those of you in the industry, I kind of bringing it down just a very few folks, but there is a very secure building or unit within a building that's secure. They call a SCIF. So it was unheard of for anyone to work outside of that SCIF. Well, during COVID, they found a way. It forced innovation. And so companies started, allowing folks to work from home. They found a way to actually build secure networks and make it I shouldn't say just as secure, but as secure enough.
Secure enough, right.
Yeah, exactly.
I wish the educational system would learn that, because when this all started back in Clark County and they were going online, I can't imagine we were the only school district, but the amount of outsiders that would break into the DMs and the video chats before they secured. They were using Skype at first. I don't know if they went to Zoom at all. They went from Skype, then they went to Google Meet, and they really secured. They had the difference between using the Skype method and Google Meet just changed their security, that they didn't have outsiders bombing into these chat rooms with the students.
Yeah, that's the first time I actually heard of it. Yeah. I didn't.
It was big stuff. Oof.
Yeah. Well, security, that's actually another area. It's cybersecurity, right?
Well, there's a show. This is a plug for you, John. Join Mac Jackson from cybersecurity show here on WWDBTV.
Yeah. Actually, I need to tune in too, because we do a lot of cybersecurity work.
There you go, John. When is Mac on next, John? Jump in there and let us know. Let's give a plug for Mac, because even Carlos will watch.
Mac's on, he's on Fridays at 11 a.m.
Pacific time.
Of course, Pacific time. There is no other time.
Well, then I'm in the third dimension.
Actually,
right now.
It's on demand. You can go anytime, any day.
And where can they find the show, John?
Someplace on the internet.
Like
the best place to find it is our website at WWDBTV.com, or our YouTube channel at WWDBTV.com, or our Facebook page at WWDBTV Las Vegas.
See, you got to plug in. I don't even have to bill you for it.
I know.
Goodbye, John. We have a lot of fun together.
Oh, I could say, yeah. I love that.
But you should check. I've had Mac on my show when I was in Vegas, talk, and he knows the stuff. I mean, he's good stuff. So if you want to, I encourage you, grab an episode.
Absolutely.
Or two or three.
So I'll mark it down. Yeah.
But anyway, so that changed. I mean, COVID certainly changed everything. Y2K changed everything. But now, I mean, to me, normal was redefined with the Twin Towers.
That's right.
I mean, you can go to the bombings in Oklahoma and the bombing at World Trade Center back in the late 90s. But to me, 9/11 really changed normal on so many levels. Yeah. Then we now add the cybersecurity issues and all of that. On top of that, I mean, every day we know we're reading articles or getting emails from these companies. We hate to bring to your attention, but we just found out that we had a cyber attack. I got one yesterday for a company that I didn't even do business with.
That's right.
So, I mean, it's crazy.
Right. And I think some of that actually played into the fears of COVID and China's spread, that we were being, maybe attacked. I remember there's so much, that was surrounding that era. But if you also recall, one of the biggest discussions, at least here in Virginia, but nationally, we were having this conversation about what the minimum wage should be. And so when COVID happened, I think I can't even remember what the minimum wage. I remember one of our first staffing contracts in general labor. We were paying folks $10 an hour.
And sounds about right.
Well, that was not minimum. It was above minimum wage. That was actually considered a good wage because it was above minimum wage, which I think was maybe about $7 an hour. I'll give it.
2019 is that what we're 2020?
Yes, 2019 was actually.
Let's see what the Google $7.25 was the minimum wage.
$7.25, right? Okay, there you go.
Thank you, Google.
But I remember, if you recall, everyone was like, "How are we going to pay $15 an hour as the minimum wage?"
Right.
We did it. We're doing it right now. If you try to pay anyone less than that, maybe you might be able to get away with $13 an hour. Right. But the new minimum wage, by just the forces of capitalism, is at 15 competitively.
Well, you can. I'm going to get your take on this because what compounded that problem back then was when people were filing for unemployment. And people were making more money not working.
That's right.
That pushed those rates up to get the working force going again, right?
Absolutely. Well, I can tell you a real story behind that. I had a crew of about 8 guys that were traveling down to a job that we had for them. And literally I got a text, they had to be on site at 6:30 in the morning. And so I begin my day every day at 5 o'clock just to make, preparation for, any contingencies that may pop up, whatever, that we're responsible for. And I got a text message saying, "Hey, sorry, boss, we just got our checks just hit." And they turned around and just left it. They just didn't even make it to the job site. It was like, "Hey, I'm getting this stimulus and I'm just making more."
Oh, there's stimulus checks.
There's stimulus checks. Yeah.
Wow.
So
see, there you go.
To agree with what you're saying, literally mid-travel, they just are on their way to work. They just turned around and went back home because why go to work and earn $10 an hour?
Wow.
So it did take a lot of folks, and you're 100% correct, because it took a good a substantial portion of the workforce away, right from employers,
right.
And so now they had to compete, and so when you have McDonald's, you have hotels, you have all of these places that were paying $7.25 an hour, now paying signing bonuses. Right, like $1,000 to $2,000. That's something we did in the professional ranks. Right. To actually help close. If someone was kind of iffy or we needed to bridge a little bit of a delta in an offer. Right. Those are things we did.
Absolutely, they were a perk in the negotiation.
Right. Exactly. Better said.
Wow.
So it's so that kind of innovation. But you know what? It also changed how we think, just like 9/11, because 9/11 brought front and center that we are vulnerable and. We had our Pearl Harbor,
right?
But it also for permanently, we don't know what stores, the hours for stores anymore.
Right.
Walmart, closing, not 24 hours anymore. So just think of every day, what we thought we knew, we don't know.
It's not anymore. I mean, CVS back in Vegas was open 24/7.
That's right.
I come out here a year ago, and the CVS by where I get my scripts from it opens at 9. Closes at 9. The pharmacy closes at 5, and they're closed. I mean, so I'm like, whoa! But Vegas is a 24-hour town. It's 3 8-hour shifts. Right. Okay, things can be said though, like for down at the waterfront of Virginia Beach, where you have the tourism. maybe certain things should be open a little longer than Sunday blue laws. You know what I'm saying?
True.
But I mean, it is right. I mean, every day we're reading about changes, and the normal continues to be redefined each and every day. All right, before we get ready to go for our second break of the show, it is now time where I'm going to totally change gears on Carlos. He has no clue that these questions are coming. That's part of the fun of these questions. These are questions I like to ask for the moment. First thing that comes to mind, no thinking, no like, can I phone a friend kind of thing.
Sure.
First thing that comes to mind. So I'm going to hit you with a couple of them before we go to break. Number one, who is your favorite actor of all time?
Oh, favorite actor of all time. Oh, boy. That's
on the men's side, because I will follow up with the women.
Wow. Denzel Washington.
I get him so often. It is so funny how everybody, I don't know if it's a fallback for everybody, but but he's a great actor.
Yeah, but the criteria I use for that is if there's a Denzel Washington movie, I will follow it.
Okay, good. I'm glad. Keep
Just
that
like
thought in mind. Clint Eastwood, Denzel Washington.
I stuck two in there.
No, but just the wide spectrum there. Okay, other side of the aisle. Who's your favorite actress of all time?
Actress. Sigourney Weaver.
Really?
Yeah.
Favorite Sigourney Weaver movie? Why do you like her so much?
You know, I just felt like she brought a certain level of.
Was it the alien coming out of her stomach or something?
The alien. I just
Ghostbusters.
Felt like, you know, like everything. There was just something about her acting. I felt like it was enough. There's just like the actors.
Yeah.
You know, if Sigourney Weaver's in it, and I know that I'm going to get probably nailed when people say that are around me that you could have said this, you could have said that, but
you can send your emails to Carlos. Okay, so along the lines of what you just said about the movie, so the next question I usually ask is, what is your favorite all-time movie to watch so that when it comes on, nobody bothers you by your phone, you grab your significant other or whoever else you want to watch it with, grab your favorite adult beverage, and you're not bothered for 2 to 3 hours because you're watching what movie?
Wow. That is a very, very, very.
See, I use a very long intro to that question to give people an extra second or two to think of something.
I appreciate that. Feel free to add any more adjectives.
I can't. I'm out of adjectives at this point. Favorite all-time movie?
Well, favorite all-time movie. Wow.
And it doesn't have to have Denzel or Sigourney in it. I mean,
That's right. Well, you know, one of my favorite all-time movies, because I actually really think it embodies really the spirit of humanity.
Okay.
Is Remember the Titans.
Love that. Also, who's in that movie?
Denzel Washington.
There you go.
That's right. Minus Sigourney Weaver. I think she played a good role in that.
Could have
been something.
Could have been the head cheerleader. Something.
Yeah.
Could have made the boys. You know. Anyway, that's a whole different movie.
Yeah.
Anyway, but it's funny you mention that because it has Denzel in it. That was a great movie on so many levels. You could that movie should be a college course of humanity.
That's right.
And just peel that. All right. What's your favorite genre of music?
Ooh. So I have to tell you this, because my father and I used to travel a lot in what I used to do, and he was a good fan of country.
Okay.
And so I can't say that's my favorite genre, but I have an appreciation for it. But I think I am just. That is the hardest question you've asked me so far.
Wait, it's going to get harder.
You should see my playlist. But I will just say that I grew up as a Commodores fan.
Raquel,
so I do like pop. Yes, and of course, you know everyone. All right, good impression, buddy.
Let it all hang out. She's a lady. I love Lionel Richie. I grew up. I love him. There isn't a song of his / the Night Train. Come on, Night Shift. I mean, Night Shift. I mean, there isn't a song that you can't hear of the. It's like Billy Joel.
Yeah.
There's every song you hear. You know it. You can go, and the Commodores and Richie's the same thing. All right, last question before we go to break. You're in your car right now. Driving along, you hit a red light, your favorite all-time song comes on the air that you're listening to, and you decide to start singing karaoke.
Yeah.
And you don't care what you look like singing karaoke, and everybody, that red light, they're all looking in. What song are you singing in your car?
Reasons by Earth, Wind & Fire.
There you go. Yeah, I love it. We went from country to Lionel Richie and the Commodores, and now Earth, Wind & Fire. You're watching Aaron's Hour. We come back. More with Carlos, more silly, goofy stuff, but more importantly, more serious talk about the work environment, not only here, but around. You're watching Aaron's Hour. I'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Carrie with Premier Showgirls. I book real live Las Vegas showgirls for corporate events, trade shows, all sizes and types of events. I also work with some of the best celebrity impersonators in town: Elvis, Marilyn, Rat Pack, Frank, and Dean. We book stilt walkers, go-go dancers, all kinds of entertainers. So if you need some Vegas glitz and glam for your event, call me, Carrie, at Premier Showgirls.
With an award-winning and dedicated faculty and 4 beautiful campuses, Tidewater Community College proudly serves nearly 25,000 students a year, 48% of whom pursue degrees that let them transfer to four-year institutions. At Tidewater Community College, 65% of our students attend part-time, so they can earn while they learn, and 1/3 of our students are military-related. Enroll today at Tidewater Community College. From here, go anywhere.
Yeah. All right, welcome back. We keep that. One of these days, I'm going to keep my recorder on during the break because some of the best conversation. My book has some of those stories. So I'll let my voice speak to you. Stories from a Hall of Fame broadcast. But anyway, all right. So we were talking some goofy stuff. But before we get back to all that, I do have one more question before we get back to some serious stuff. Who's your favorite boxer of all time?
Well,
and I'm purposely leading in there. I'm jabbing you right now.
Yeah, you are. Without a doubt, I'd have to say Pernell Whitaker.
Okay. Gee, I wonder why. So we're ready to go live, and I have his bio, and I've gotten to know Carlos just a little bit this week as we started talking. He says, "I'm going to share something with you I haven't really put on my bio." He says, "But I used to box." Okay, I took lessons for a month. I know a hook from a cross and an uppercut. And I said to you, if it wasn't for boxing, that's how I got my start in this industry 20 years ago.
Right.
My wife and I, my kids, we took a 30-day class at a boxing gym. So I knew like this much, just enough to be dangerous. But no, that you did a lot more than you were a boxer. You sparred with Pernell Whitaker.
I was. Yeah, so Pernell and I, first of all, I started training. My father was in the Navy, just for full disclosure.
Are you military also or not?
I never served. Yeah, that was.
Well, thank you to your father and everybody that helped us do what we could do today.
I appreciate that. When my father was here, he went on to be with the Lord.
That's
2019. I'm sorry, 2017. But he would always say, "You don't have to thank me. I did it because I wanted to do it." And he gives reserved the thank yous for the folks that did not make it back home.
That's
and that was his pat answer. So, but yeah, so I started boxing. My dad went out to sea. My father and I used to watch Muhammad Ali. And
float like a butterfly.
Yes.
Him and from my world of sports. Why am I blanking? Howard Cosell. Oh my God.
Yes.
And Billy Crystal could do a mean Muhammad Ali.
Legendary.
Oh
yeah, his impressions were legendary. But so when my father went out, I saw a flyer to come and learn boxing, and so my friend and I decided to go. I was 7 years old.
Really? For your first boxing lesson?
I was 7 years old. Yes.
Wow, I was barely worrying about what time Woody Woodpecker was on a Saturday, and this guy's out boxing for crying out loud.
Yeah, and no less. I'm getting on a bus without my mother, going to this gym that I'd never been to before, and I'm throwing on gloves, and I have to get in the ring and fight somebody that I'd never fought before, just out of pure instinct.
Sure.
And so the coach at the time pulled me over and said, "Yeah, you made." It was like that was a tryout. Like you had to beat the guy or whatever. And he saw how you fought, and he pulled you over. So fast forward, my father came home, and this was back in the day before the internet. So my dad didn't find out I was boxing until he was almost home, and he got a postcard from my mother.
Gotcha.
So we go to the
gym. How old were you at that time when you found out?
At that time, I was 9.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was 9, and I was he got orders to relocate back here to Virginia Beach from Charleston. And so we go to this gym, and at that point, I was state champion out of South Carolina. Went to, they didn't have golden gloves for that, that age group. But yeah, I thought I was king of the hill. And going back home, I walked in this gym, and sure enough, there was this other little skinny kid looking at me, and they kept calling him Pernell or Pete.
Okay.
And so anyway, that was our introduction.
And then you sparred with him, though.
Well,
how many times did you spar with him?
I sparred with him every single night.
Okay.
Every single night. And if you follow boxing, there are several styles, but we were both counter punchers. That was just something we were natural at. He was a natural southpaw. I was just a regular traditional right-hander. And we actually sharpened that. There's something where iron sharpens iron, but we really, really were mirror images of each other. Mm-hmm. We fought. We practiced. We fought against each other. We would go to the tournaments. We wouldn't fight each other because he was actually, to be honest with you, he was actually about 3 years older than me.
Okay.
But yeah, we would go toe to toe, and then in our later lives, when I come back home, I would spar with him again after he turned pro, just to kind of see how sharp he was.
So breaking news, ladies and gentlemen, without Carlos, Pernell would not won any Olympic medals. Okay, let's call it as we see it around here. Well, that's an interesting tidbit, though. Do you talk to him still at all, or not?
Well, you know what? He passed.
That's right.
He passed.
I forgot.
Yeah, in fact, actually, right on here. Well, no problem. Yeah, he passed. I was trying. there were a lot of things that happened that transpired. When we would travel, Pete and I would, because we were, they used to call us the two little pros. Whenever we would travel, we would room together, we would eat together, we did everything together. And by the way, we idolized Muhammad Ali back in the day.
Well, who didn't? I mean, if you weren't worth your weight in gold in boxing at that time, and you weren't idolizing, him and that whole era of boxing, you were missing. But what's interesting here, folks, is in the building we sit in. If you're familiar with downtown Virginia Beach at all, we're in a section called Town Center, which ironically, there's a section in Las Vegas called Town Center by the airport. But in the different buildings in this area, because of all the many athletes and entertainers that actually come from the Hampton Roads, they have Hall of Fame displays, not only here, but in the building across the street where the garage is. And Pernell Whitaker has his like a locker.
That's right.
With his jersey, his gloves, and is in this building on the lobby floor when you walk in. So it's an interesting twist that his stuff is here in the building that we have our offices in.
It is, and I'll tell you too, because it was the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame that produces it, and they'll change the displays up, and they do, but they have kept his jersey front and center. Right. And I'll be honest with you, I'm gonna be a little vulnerable here, but it was hard for me to walk by it because we were always, we were lightweights, and so we were generally the first folks to fight within the first 5 or 10 fights. Right. And I was either in front of them or I was either behind them. And most of the time, for some reason, he seemed to fight before I did. And so we would train together. I mean, we would warm up together. We'd get our hands wrapped together. I have another very interesting story about that. So we were just always together. Right. And the way that they had his robe, they had his back facing towards me. Okay. And where the front as you walk by. Right. And that just killed me. And
that's what's downstairs.
And so the first time I saw that, I looked and I had to take a gasp because it just brought up this memory that had been, I hadn't thought about like watching him go out and cheering it because I always watched his fights, right? And then because we critiqued each other as well.
Absolutely.
And if I had, if there was a fight between us, then I would go ringside and I would try to get in this corner and just tell him what I saw.
Gotcha.
So we were very worked, in unison like that. But it just brought up something. But now I walk by and I just go, I can go. I have so many different stories, but anecdotal stories. But I just I wish him well, and I know I know he's in a better spot. But
it's interesting what you find out from people before you go on the air. Yeah. By the way, I want to let everybody know, those of you who are watching right now, I have put Carlos's website on the crawl, connecttalentsolutions.com. Check his website out. I did spend some time on it the other day. A ton of information. Leaves really no stone unturned about any questions you may have about what his company does. And of course, his office numbers are on screen as well. It's 757-301-4911. Or if you're if you're here in Virginia Beach, Town Center, right on Central Park. I always like saying it. Central Park is Central Park Avenue.
It is.
Central Park Avenue, right across from Cold Stone. That's a very important landmark. Is our office up on the 3rd floor. So if you're in the area, just come up, ask for Carlos with the ladies up front. They'll let them know you're here and talk to them. So I want a couple more questions about the business.
Sure.
What people? I think every industry has myths about it.
Yes.
So I want to ask you, give me like 2 or 3 myths about recruiting.
Yeah.
That people have out there that are totally erroneous about what you do in recruiting people.
Well, the first one I would say is there's still a lot of people out there that think we charge our candidates.
Okay.
And I know that comes from the old personnel days, which I was never a part of, where you would go in, sit in an office, and they would tell you how much it would cost to get an interview and a job for that particular client. Right. So that's the reverse, and companies realize, and the industry realize that that's not the way to go. Okay. The companies have the need. Everyone's losing money. Right. And so the tables flipped, and fortunately it flipped before I got into recruiting.
Okay. So the company looking for the employee is the one that technically pays you for your services to find that body.
That's correct. Because I get the question, well, does this cost me anything? Like, absolutely not. It's almost offensive to me. Like, I would never charge anyone. Right. That's just, but I understand the origin.
Sure.
So that's one.
All right. Check that off the box, everybody.
And the other thing, you have to fight through, because there's so many companies out there. And for me, I saw a lot of these companies get birthed in the early going, in the mid to late 90s. Okay. And I keep dating myself.
That's okay. I'm in that habit in life also.
Yeah, that's
right. Especially when I talk about shows from the 70s. Hey, did you ever see Barney Miller? And I get that.
Yeah. I have to watch that. Yeah, I have to get current too. I don't watch enough TV to do that.
So, it's on the CW. It's on later.
The CW.
Right.
Okay. But
Or
just
Me
CW.
TV. I'm sorry.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, mentioning either one of those kind of like,
Right.
kind of brings me a little bit more like right. But yeah. So you have to, because back in the day, I was recruiting back in the day. Another term.
Both ways uphill in the snow.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. We didn't have the internet. Right. And I remember, fax machines were like the latest, like greatest technology.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had to be on the phone for 4 hours connect time.
Yep.
They had these weird machines that just track that. And I was using a DOS prompt computer. And I had to take a newspaper, develop a market, and I had to have a candidate, and I recruited out of both. It was just pure marketing. And I think that has served me to this today because, there's so much information that's out there now that I would have never dreamt that I would be able to have or utilize as a tool.
Sure.
And it's how you apply that. But so going to your myth, and then not to
that's okay.
Go down that hole.
No, that's fine.
There's a net when you reach out to talk to someone, they have already been probably impacted by folks who did not understand what they did as a profession, and so they're a little leery. So we have to spend a good amount of time. And I think they get it because there's, if you're recruiting, you've been in the industry for a long time, they can tell. But if you're just talking to them and they, you have the title and you don't
understand. The deprogram them.
Right, exactly. You lose a little bit of credibility, and so they have to. There's a little bit of this. All right, what is it? It's almost like you're selling insurance or something. You're like, okay, I hear it, or
timeshare,
right? Or timeshare. That's right. That's right. It's just, it's just one of those things you have to work through.
Absolutely.
And so we spent a good amount of time just talking about how we go through our business because it is so people oriented.
Are you openly looking for candidates every day of the week, to stockpile your inventory, so to speak, so that when an opening comes, you say, I already have somebody? Or do you wait till you contract with a potential employer and then start looking for somebody to fill their needs?
Yeah. Well, for the most part, there are, I would say, certain positions that are of constant need.
Okay.
As I mentioned, one is in cybersecurity. We have a general labor contract, or a couple of general labor contracts, but also bleeds over into hospitality. So those are always open. But we're always looking for great people.
Okay.
And I say that because I think folks underestimate the value of looking and understanding or coming across someone who has just the intangibles that you're looking for.
Okay.
And a lot of employers are willing to train someone that they say, this person could be great for our company.
Right.
But, maybe they were selling, gadgets,
right?
Now they need to be making widgets.
Right.
Exactly. And so we just get them over that hump.
Sure.
We've got a great
Then you're gold.
Then you're golden.
So give me real quick, because I'm keeping an eye on the time because I want to make sure that we get everything in that I want to with you. And then I have a few more of those questions for you.
Sure. All right, great.
So give me 2 or 3 qualities that you look for in a candidate that generally speaking, your employers are really looking for, that either they can be molded, but you said they may have the skill, but doesn't mean that they fit. Right. So give me a couple of things that you look for in a potential candidate.
Well, I actually look at.
So take notes out there, everybody.
I look for the same thing in candidates that I do with clients.
Okay.
And I look how they treat people.
Okay.
Because if I have to be able to send my son to, be able to, can my son work here? Would I want to work for this person?
Sure.
And if that answer is no, then
what am I doing?
What am I doing?
Yeah,
right? And it could be a high risk.
Sure.
And we don't like that because we don't like having any kind of, having a backfill candidates that fell off and we do better.
Right.
But for candidates, it's definitely how they express themselves, how humble they are.
Okay.
One of the things I used to do, and I do, not used to, I still and use it, utilize it. Not that many candidates come up and see me up here anymore. Generally, we're going out. We meet them at our various networking events that we sponsor. But I look for the intangibles. So
speaking of which, don't let me forget to have you talk about the group you just started.
Okay. Oh, sure.
So let's talk about that.
Okay. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, Connect Coastal Virginia. I'm partnered with several entities, Gov Series, which is run by Jerry Miles, BXG, which is Danielle. And his last name escaped me for the moment,
okay.
But that's all right.
We'll make you buy drinks next time.
He will. Tanyak, right. Parnell Tanya, yep. As well as being I would say co-sponsored really by Susan Schaefer and Lisa Martin from Schaefer Realty, and here I go again. I'm drawing up.
That's
this
okay.
Is my old band to see.
But the purpose of this group is for recruiting, or is it just networking in general?
It's just networking. Okay. Yeah. So what we're trying to do, the purpose of the group is, we want to. Virginia Beach is a very small town in a sense, right? And we want to. If you are from this area, how do you get networked in?
Right. And
not only that, how do you, you get networked in, but to build sustaining, lasting relationships.
Right.
We don't make any money. This is not a for-profit entity. We just love people, and we want to bring people to entities together, have those entities build relationships and prosper.
Okay.
So we felt that having a very, casual, very friendly, very not I don't want anyone showing up. They feel like they have to wear a suit,
right?
But really bring in a willingness to be able to meet people and advance whoever they meet, and maybe and it's nothing like where it's BNA, you have to provide leads or anything like that, but it's all organic. We want to be able to grow that kind of community. I was a part of a group back in the early 2000s. Where .coms were I'm sorry, never 2000. It was 98, 99, 2000, 2000 up to 2005, I think. Called Critical Mass. It was a really IT driven, and we had crowds or attendees, in 100 to 200 people person range. I don't foresee it getting that large. I hope to, because we have to change.
It's a lot to manage.
It's too much to manage, but I do want to create that same kind of energy. Here with networking with government contractors and like commercial realtors and
but a streaming broadcasting network
you can stream live from there.
I can always be contracted to do a remote show.
That's right. All right.
When's the next event? When's the next event?
Next event is going to be the 27th, I think, of July, which is a Thursday.
Okay.
You can check me on the actual date on that.
But the group is available for all of that on Facebook. There's a Facebook group.
There is a Facebook group. If you get
it's open to anybody to come. There's no membership fee.
There's no membership fee. There's we even have.
Where's the place outside?
It's at Jimmy G's on Virginia Beach Boulevard. Great place, and they dedicate the back room, which has its own dedicated bar.
So there's no cost walking in other than unless you want a meal.
Unless you want a meal, or unless you want a drink. But we do.
But I'm saying you get a drink or food or whatever.
That's right. But we do have food sponsors, so so you get a taste or an opportunity to taste this great food that the great staff at Jimmy G's they create, and it's a great intro to the restaurant.
Love it
as well.
Love it. So July 27th.
July 27th. Let me check the date if I can do time. It's at 5:30.
Okay.
From 5:30 to 7:30, and we've actually changed the day because there's a big event is Why Not Wednesday.
Right.
So we didn't want to compete with that. So
send me the flyer, and I'll post it up on my social media platforms and stuff. I will be there because I will be in town. That's before I head out to Vegas the following week. So I have family wedding and stuff back there. So I will be there on the 27th.
Excellent.
All right, we're about to wrap up. John shared a message that he got regarding the question about what you look for in a candidate. And the comment that he shared is attitude and motivation. Technical skills can be taught, which you alluded to, but can't teach attitude and motivation.
Absolutely.
Right? That's pretty accurate.
That's right. Oh, 100% accurate. Well, and I think companies are willing to invest that time, and it's reciprocal, because when a company or we have a client that is willing to train, they recognize the value of those intangibles, then there isn't any amount of a fee or amount of that money that they feel that it's not worthwhile.
But they wouldn't be willing to invest.
They're willing to invest. That's right.
Makes sense.
And a candidate knows that too. So
ConnectTalentSolutions.com is the website. 757-301-4911. If they want to just send resumes in, or how do they? What's an email to communicate with? Or?
Yeah, sure. They can send it to, and I apologize for it being so long. We are trying to cut it down. It's C Moore, my first initial last name, at Connect Talent.
And is it Moore with an E on the end?
More with an E on the end. That's correct.
All right. So again, give it again. It is. Give the website or your email again.
Yeah. Okay. C Moore, MOORE at ConnectTalentSolutions.com.
Perfect. All right. A couple more questions as we're running out of time, and we'll get out of here. What is your favorite vacation spot that you've been to?
Favorite vacation spot? You know, I have a couple, just like my actors and actresses.
You only get one. You
I
only
only
get
get
one.
one. I will have to say at the moment, it's Puerto Vallarta.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where's your bucket list vacation that you haven't been to that you do want to go?
Turks and Caicos.
That's, you notice he didn't hesitate on that one, folks.
Yes.
He was on that one like
Yeah.
crazy. All right. Favorite meal, top to bottom, starting with an appetizer.
Top to bottom, starting with an appetizer. I will say appetizer. Don't do many appetizers.
Okay.
But generally, I'll start off salads
Okay.
with my appetizer.
That's fine.
But I love a good ribeye steak.
Okay.
I'm a
Sides.
steak and potatoes guy.
Sides with it.
Loaded
potato.
Loaded baked potato. Fully loaded.
Adult beverage to go with the meal.
Adult beverage.
Okay,
Yeah, maybe
fair
before
enough.
the meal.
Okay.
Maybe that could be my appetizer.
There you go.
Yeah.
Dessert.
Yep. Bacardi and Diet actually is. Could be
For dessert?
Yeah. Don't do dessert because I'm switching my calories. So
Oh, I got you.
choose that.
Saving it over, moving it over.
Yeah, you know, it's not as much sugar, not
Right.
as sweet, right?
No,
So,
absolutely.
have an adult beverage.
Fair enough. All right. A couple more questions. Who's your
Sure.
favorite superhero, Batman or Superman? And keep in mind what I have around my office if you want to
Batman
get the
and
answer
Superman.
right.
Okay, so
But you can be honest.
yeah. So I grew up watching Batman, but I also grew up watching Superman. You remember that?
I do. George
And
Reeves.
George Reeves. So I was actually more of a Superman guy.
Mhm.
And now I was a fan of the movies, the first Batman movies, how they
Oh, yeah.
they
Yeah,
started
Michael
producing.
Keaton and all that
Michael
stuff.
Keaton,
Yeah.
that's right. But yeah, I would have to go with Superman. But if you really want to go take those characters, my first one was Aquaman.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Aquaman. That's one I haven't. I usually get. Obviously, I ask purposely about Batman, Superman, but then every once in a while, someone slides in Wonder Woman on me, and I can't
Yes.
argue with Wonder Woman.
You can't.
Either Linda Carter or Gal Gadot. I'll take either one.
Absolutely. Yeah,
My
they did really well.
God. Now, I know because you gave up family time today, and I don't know if they were listening, I will ask the question, but you have the right to pass on it if you choose to. What is your favorite all-time curse word? And if you can say it and choose to say it, we're not regulated by the FCC, so you can say it if you choose to share. If you choose to pass because of family potentially listening, I get it, and I will give you a pass.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I will tell you that I'm in traffic. We talked about the left hand earlier in the conversation. And sometimes that F-bomb will fly right out of my mouth, and I just can't help it.
Fair enough. All right. I won't make you say it because of the chances, but you alluded to it. Good enough. Last final question. And this is the only serious one I ask of all of us. When the day comes that you're standing at the pearly gates, and that's going to be way down the line, and you're standing in, the maitre d' is at the gates ready to welcome you in. What is it you want to hear them say to you upon entering?
I want to hear them say, "Step right up this way."
You to the right.
I don't want
right.
any hesitation.
No hesitation. Just come right on in. Do not pass go. Do not go to jail. All right, very good. Well, thank you for coming in today, my
Absolutely.
friend.
Thank you.
Greatly
Thanks for the
appreciate it
invite.
again.
Absolutely.
Carlos Moore, check it out for all your recruiting needs, all your talent needs. It is connecttalentsolutions.com. More to come with him, and I'm sure you'll hear and see more of us together at all these events and everything, doing some good stuff together. Anyway, thank you for watching, everybody. Listen, next week, I will be in Pittsburgh. So John and I are going to find out which show we want to entertain you with next Saturday. I think we have an idea, courtesy of our friends over at Tidewater Community College. As always, be kind to everybody. Why? We are all we have. Have a great week. Be safe. Stay hydrated. Thank you for watching. Aaron Zauer, Coast to Coast. We'll be back. Thank you for watching.